Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're completely rethinking how we approach our emotional well being and, honestly, our ability to just sit down and concentrate. We tend to view our minds as these static, mysterious black boxes. But what if we actually started looking at them like a muscle, something that can be systematically trained, strengthened, and conditioned? Here's our mental workout routine for today. First, we'll look at the mind as a muscle. Then, we'll cover the science of neuroplasticity, dive into therapy and emotional awareness, check out meditation as mental lifting, and finally, we'll wrap up with your actual focus training routine. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the mind as a muscle. Think about how much time, energy, and, let's face it, money we spend tracking our physical health. We're wearing smartwatches, we log our miles, we push our bodies at the gym. We totally get that to get stronger physically, we've got to put in the work. Yet when it comes to our minds, we expect absolute peak performance without ever putting in the reps. We completely neglect the heavy lifting required to build our mental muscles. But just like physical fitness means hitting the gym to build endurance, mental fitness requires specific exercises, stuff like therapy, meditation, and targeted focus training, just to build up that resilience and concentration. Peak performance coach Lauren Tate actually reminds us of a classic bodybuilding principle called time under tension, or TUT. In the gym, this just refers to the total amount of time a muscle is activated during a set to promote growth. Now, when we apply this exact concept to our thought patterns, we see that by intentionally holding our minds on specific, productive thoughts, or actively resisting the negative automatic ones, we are applying mental tension. And over time, that tension is literally what builds mental strength and emotional agility. Moving right along to section 2, the science of neuroplasticity. So the really crucial point here is that neuroplasticity actually proves our brains are not hardwired or fixed in adulthood. There's no way. Our brains can literally bulk up and restructure their internal pathways, much like how physical muscle fibers repair and grow after a heavy workout. This happens through synaptic plasticity, where the connections between neurons get stronger, and structural plasticity, where entirely new neural pathways form simply based on what we focus on and what we experience. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what modern science has uncovered. Studies using fMRI and EEG scans have shown that doing targeted mental exercises physically increases the gray matter density in your brain. Seriously. When you engage in cognitive training, you're physically beefing up your prefrontal cortex. That's the part that handles your executive function and decision-making. And you're strengthening your hippocampus, which is absolutely vital for memory. This means cognitive training doesn't just make you feel better, it biologically boosts how efficiently your brain processes information and regulates your emotions. It's a real game changer. Okay, section 3, therapy and emotional awareness. I absolutely love this perspective from licensed counselor Martha Patterson. We really need to reframe therapy. It is not about fixing something that's quote-unquote broken. Think about it like this. If you've never done a single push-up in your entire life, you're going to feel incredibly weak, uncomfortable, and maybe even a little embarrassed when you first drop to the floor to try one, right? Therapy is exactly the same thing. It's simply doing the uncomfortable baseline training required to get emotionally strong. You're just learning the fundamental movements of emotional regulation. The Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Workbook humorously captures that terrifying feeling we've honestly all experienced at some point. Sitting in a chair, feeling like a puppet, and complaining, "I'm tired of letting everyone pull my strings." It perfectly visualizes that really uncomfortable lack of control we feel when our emotions are just running the show, reacting wildly to external events without any kind of mental boundary or strength to stop them. So to cut those strings, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, teaches us the ABCs. Step 1 is the activating event. Something happens. Say a friend doesn't text you back. We usually think this event directly causes step 3, the consequence, which is feeling rejected or angry. But the real secret here is step 2, our beliefs. It's the rigid or inaccurate beliefs we attach to that event that actually cause the emotional distress. Once you realize you have control over step 2, well, you've just found your mental steering wheel. Which brings us to section 4, meditation as mental lifting. So many people tell me they absolutely hate meditation. They try it once, their mind races, and they just quit, thinking they failed. And that's mostly because they believe the myth that meditation requires achieving this perfectly blank, peaceful mind. But the reality is completely different. The frustration you feel when your mind wanders isn't a failure. It's actually the resistance training itself. Catching that wandering mind and dragging it back to focus is the actual workout. Writer Philip Brewer makes a brilliant point about this exact thing.
Imagine you sit down for a 5-minute meditation session and your mind wanders off 20 different times. If you catch it wandering and you successfully pull your attention back to your breath each of those 20 times, you didn't just have a terrible distracted session. No way. You just successfully completed 20 mental reps. That's 20 times you exercise the specific neural pathway that controls your attention span.
Let's bring it all together in Section 5, your focus training routine. Just like adding a few extra pounds to a barbell each week, you have to gradually build the stamina of your concentration. Don't start out by trying to read a textbook for 3 hours straight. You'll just burn out. Start with a 5-minute sprint of complete unbroken focus, and then follow that with a 2-minute break. Tomorrow, maybe try 10 minutes. Gradually, day by day, you build that mental endurance, blocking up to 45 straight minutes of focus. You are actively growing your attention span.
To really support this, you can seamlessly integrate specific mental exercises into your day. Keep a distraction to-do list right next to you. When a random thought pops up, like, I don't know, wanting to check the weather, write it down to check later instead of breaking your focus right then. Practice reading long-form texts without skimming. Or even practice mindfulness during completely mundane tasks, like focusing entirely on the texture and flavor of your food as you chew. Every single one of these actions is a literal rep for your prefrontal cortex. Ultimately, this explainer shows us that our brains are incredibly dynamic organs, literally just waiting for us to challenge them so they can adapt and grow stronger. You are not stuck with the attention span or the emotional reactions you have right now. So, looking at the day ahead, the only question left to ask yourself is, what mental muscle are you going to train today?